These French onion-ish sliders are pretty messy, but they are packed with flavor. To make the meat extra moist, use a panade. That's just a fancy word for milk-soaked bread. If you skip this step, your patties will probably be dry, even with the moisture from the soup. Use 1 slice of sandwich bread per pound of meat. Cut off the crust and either cut it or tear it into small pieces and put it in a bowl. This part's optional, but to add flavor, put Worcestershire sauce in first. I use about a teaspoon, but if you don't like Worcestershire, just leave it out. Add some milk, probably a tablespoon. You're going to have to see depending on how dry your bread was. Let it sit in the bowl for a few minutes to let the liquid soak in. Use a fork to mash it into a paste. If it's too dry, add a little bit more milk. If it's too wet, you need to squeeze it to get out some of the excess liquid and pour off that liquid. Add your ground beef by tearing it into small chunks. This will mix in better than if you put the whole pound in one big chunk. Now start mixing it in to distribute the panade as evenly as possible. Try not to squeeze and really mix it hard. That can make the meat tough. This may look like the way you make a meatloaf, but this won't turn out like a meatloaf. The milk-soaked bread just holds moisture in the meat, which keeps the well-done burger from being too dry. Add butter to a skillet and cook the onions. Cook them until they're well softened and getting a little bit brown, probably about 10 minutes. Once they're done, add the soup mix. This is the one that I use. Add half of the water that it calls for on the box. Mix it till it's dissolved and then add the patties before you turn on the heat. Bring them to a boil and then reduce them down to a simmer. Cook them for 2 or 3 minutes on that side and then turn them over. You're going to turn them over a couple of times. That way they soak up the soup really well. In the meantime, toast the buns. I usually just put them under the broiler for a minute or two. Cut the buns apart and you're ready to assemble. I start with lots of mustard, some of the juice, then the patties, and some more juice. Be sure to get a lot of those extra onions on there. If you want to make it more French onion-ish, add some cheese. I always serve it with a side of extra juice. Put the top on the patties, and you're ready to eat. See you next time on Kimberly in the Kitchen.